Good afternoon, and welcome to the 92nd commencement of the University of Arkansas School of Law. I'm Stacy Leeds, Dean of the Law School, and as we begin, please take a moment to silence your cell phones. You may all be seated. I'm honored at this time to introduce the members of our platform party. As I make the introductions, each member of the platform party will stand and be recognized individually. Please hold your applause until all have been presented. First, I'd like to welcome University of Arkansas Chancellor Joe Steinmetz, as well as our Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, Jim Coleman. Today, we have members from the University of Arkansas System Board of Trustees. We're joined by Trustee Steve Cox, Trustee John Goodson, and Chair Mark Waldrop. Our commencement speaker today is Teresa Fetty, and she's traveled from Nevada to share this day with us. Beside her on our stage is the student speaker, Kendrell Collins. I would now like to welcome and extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to my friends and colleagues from the faculty and staff of the School of Law. Senior Associate Dean for Faculty and Professor Brian Galini. The William H. Infield Professor of Law and Director of our LLM program, Professor Susan Schneider. Associate Professor Chris Kelly. The E.J. Ball Professor of Law, Uche Ewolakwa Ofadao. The Ben J. Altheimer Professor of Legal Advocacy, Carl Serco. Associate Professor Jonathan Marshfield. Professor Steve Clowney. And the Vincent Foster University Professor of Legal Ethics and Professional Responsibility, Howard Brill. On our second row, we have Associate Dean for Administration, Tamla Lewis, Professor Lonnie Beard, Dean Emeritus Cynthia Nance, who also serves as our Nathan G. Gordon Professor of Law, our Associate Director of Career Services, Terry Chaddick, Adjunct Professor Marshall Prettyman, the Sidney Parker Davis Jr. Professor of Business and Commercial Law, Mary Beth Matthews, Professor Annie Smith, Assistant Professor Jordan Woods, Professor Sharon Foster, and Senior Director of Career Services, Susan Schell. We have University Professor and Clayton N. Little Professor of Law, Carol Goforth, Professor John Norwood, who teaches in the School of Law and also on the faculty of the University of Arkansas Sam M. Walton College of Business, Assistant Professor Sarah Gossman, Associate Dean for Students Jim Miller, Associate Dean for Academic Affairs and Professor Will Foster, who serves as this year's Arkansas Bar Foundation Professor of Law. And ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking this remarkable group of faculty that we have on the stage. At this time, I'd like to take a quick point of personal privilege to thank other members of our faculty that are not here with us today. On Thursday night this week, we celebrated the retirements of 5 members of our faculty: Professor Phil Norvell, Professor Carlton Bailey, Professor Janet Flackus, Associate Library Faculty Lorraine Lorne, and Director of Competitions Kathy Sampson, who will retire this year. Together, they have a combined 164 years of service to this law school. We greatly appreciate their service, and I'd ask for you, in their absence, to give us a round of applause. And now it's my pleasure to make a few brief remarks to the class of 2018. First and foremost, my heartfelt congratulations. You have truly earned this celebration. I remind each of you that today is an important day to take a deep breath, to really soak all of this in, and enjoy this day and this weekend with your friends and family who have joined us. Then I'd like to remind you to immediately start studying for the bar exam on Monday morning, at the very latest. This is always a very bittersweet day for me and my faculty colleagues because we have had such meaningful interactions with so many of you. Please know that you will be missed. When you came to this law school in the fall of 2015, you came to us at the median age of 26, and you represented 15 different states and 44 institutions of higher education. As you leave us, we'll all be a little bit older, and you now become ambassadors not just for our law school, but for the legal profession as a whole. This degree, the one you worked so hard for and certainly lost a lot of nights of sleep over, will be very invaluable to you in each way that you can't fully appreciate right now, whatever path you ultimately take in your life. You leave us today with skills that will always serve you well, and there's 2 skills in particular that you leave with that are oftentimes missed in our society today. First and foremost, the ability to think critically. And second, the ability to be effective communicators. You're all capable of many things, and as you enter the world, please understand what a position of profound privilege, but also what a position of profound responsibility you take on. Many of you will be called upon to protect the rights of others and be the voice of the voiceless. All of you will be placed in a place of trust at some point. Never take that for granted. Your reputation is the most valuable asset that you will ever have. I often hear people's opinions about that there's too many lawyers already, but I'm very proud of the 115 new lawyers that we're setting out to the world today. Every community can always use another good lawyer, but the world at every level can certainly use more leaders. And that's what I see in so many of you. Always remember that you're part of something much bigger than yourselves. When you walk across the stage in just a few minutes, you will become one of 6,400 living alumni of this law school. We have law school alums in all 50 states and in 20 countries around the globe. And I want you to let that sink in for a second. Over 6,000 living alumni of this law school. And I know for a few of you, that's bigger than the population of your hometown. And you know what the difference is in all of those prior classes of alumni that have gone out and made great impact on society and this group that sits here before me today? And if the crowd will indulge me one inside joke with this graduating class, do you all really, really know what distinguishes you from all those classes before? It's the caps. The fancy, fuzzy TAMs instead of the boring, flat mortar boards. So much cooler. And to provide some context to the rest of the room, 9 months ago, I was presented with an extensive 20-page brief complete with empirical data and color exhibits, making the case for a change in our graduation regalia to include these fancy TAMs that, mind you, not even the PhD graduates in rocket science on this campus get to wear. And at the end of the day, I finally said no to this foolishness because I didn't want our students to spend another $1 toward their JD, so I washed my hands of it. But they persisted. They problem solved. They spent their own money and some of the Student Bar Association's money, and at the end of the day, they got their TAMs. May you always zealously advocate for your clients with the same passion and steadfast resolve. I've been the dean of this law school for 7 years, and this summer, I passed the baton to our new law school dean, Margaret Sova McCabe. At the end of a time frame that has been marked as one of the most challenging times nationally for legal education, with many law schools closing or merging under financial instability, and with many of our law schools struggling to ensure the success of their graduates in passing the bar and getting jobs, I take substantial pride in knowing that one of the most pressing issues at this law school is not whether students receive a first-rate education from a law school repeatedly recognized for being one of the best values in legal education in the entire nation. For us, that's a given. We know we're at the top of our game. I know that in the end, what really kept this class up at night was the hats. And I know that this will surely make all the difference in the world in the outcome of their future careers. All kidding aside, I and my colleagues here on the stage will watch with great interest and pride as you embark on the next journey with the exact same gusto that you have brought to Waterman Hall. Last night, we recognized several members of the class of 2018 with awards and with academic excellence and service to the community. And we've reserved the announcement of the 3 highest academic awards until today's ceremony. I invite the recipients to come forward to the platform and accept your award when your name is announced. The Academic Achievement Award recognizes the 3rd highest ranked student in the class of 2018. Our award winner is Catherine Margaret Johns. As she is making her way to the stage, I will also announce the High Academic Achievement Award honors for the 2nd highest ranked student in our class of 2018, and I would ask that award winner Brian Altman make his way to the stage. The Outstanding Academic Achievement Award goes to the student ranked number 1 in the class. Please join me in welcoming to the stage our top student in the class of 2018, Andrew Lane Lawson. Congratulations to each of you. Each year, members of the graduating class elect one of their own to deliver a student commencement address. This year's speaker is Kendrell Collins, and I start by sharing that this is not his first rodeo. I learned last night from some of his friends and family that he also delivered the commencement address as the valedictorian of his high school in Osceola. One hallmark of the University of Arkansas School of Law is the strong state, national, and international leaders that we've produced over the last 9 decades. Among the graduates who came before you are many governors, including our current governor, Asa Hutchinson, ambassadors, members of the U.S. House of Representatives and senators, CEOs, university presidents, entrepreneurs, judges, justices, general counsel, and even a United States cabinet member. No doubt Kendrell will be among those that we will mention in future classes. Before he came to the law school, Kendrell earned a degree in economics from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock, where he also minored in writing. He wrote The Forum, which is UALR's student newspaper, and served as news editor and executive editor, winning the 2014 Reporter of the Year Award for the best college newspaper reporter in Arkansas for his work there. During law school, Kendrell did many of the things that you would expect a law student leader to do. He represented clients in our immigration clinic, received multiple scholarships, including the McKinley Family Scholarship and the Nicholas Alexander Scholarship. He clerked for Fayetteville City Prosecutor and was also very active in the Black Law Students Association. He also started a podcast which ran during the summer and fall of his 2L year, and he wrote, edited, and published a book which came out during the summer between his second and third year of law school. He has said that law school and the challenges that come with it served as inspiration for his book entitled Be Steady, My Soul, Daily Practices for Peace and Positivity, which includes personal stories and practical challenges that help promote peace and a more mindful lifestyle. By choosing him for this honor, his fellow graduates obviously see his potential, and they, like us, will watch to see where life takes him next. I'd like to welcome Kendrell Collins to the podium.
Class of 2018, real quick, how about we give it up for all the family and friends who drove miles and hot planes to come celebrate with us today. And also, I would be remiss in this moment if I did not take time to honor the lady who has steered the ship. She has ran this law school for the past 7 years. She's leaving this year. Let's give it up for Dean Stacy Leeds. Thank you. Thank you, Dean Leeds. Well, class of 2018, y'all already know. I got a lot of good stories I could tell today. And if we had the time, I'd tell them all. I might mention all the mornings we marched into the legendary Professor Carlton Bailey's classroom, him drenched in the swagger of his three-piece pinstripe suits, saying his favorite slogans like bar exam, final examination question, or cogitate. I might talk about how serious Professor Galini was about his no sleeping in class policy. And as one L's, how the top of so many heads were high-fived by his flying dry erase markers. I might, with some embarrassment, tell you about capping off the last bar review of our first semester with Jessica Boykin singing Beyonce and Jay-Z's Drunk in Love. Or all the times Miss Mary Harrington popped into the room just to tell us we better get to that red stop sign. But the story on my mind tonight is actually one that was told to me just a few months ago. I was in my 2011 black Hyundai Elantra driving home to Osceola, Arkansas. And my dad, when I got there, he must have noticed a look of anxiety on my face that I had been stressing out about applying for the bar exam, finding a job, whether I passed Professor Povok's MBE exam. And he sat me down and he said, "Look at this." And he stuck his left hand out in front of me. And he said, "You see that?" And I didn't see anything. He said, "Look a little bit closer," and he pointed just below the knuckle of his left index finger. And he said, "You see that scar?" And I saw this scar the size of an eyelash. He said, "That's a 25-year-old scar, son. I got it the day you were born." Me and your mom, we were at the hospital. The doctor and nurses were all around, and she had her hand in mine. And while we were standing there, I could tell she had so much life inside of her, so much potential just ready to be birthed forth into the world. But she was in so much pain. The process was so unbearable. Her body was aching, bones bending, blood spilling out. The process was painful. He said, but she looked over at me and she said, "What do I do?" And my father, not knowing what to say, he reached down his throat and he pulled out the only word that he could find. He said, "Push." Push. And so my mother, she did push. She pushed me out and she pushed a scar right into his hand. Blood started spilling out. And he said, "Let this be a reminder to you. I don't care what you go through, and you will go through some things bigger than a bar exam, some things bigger than a little test that are going to challenge your ability to go forward. But what I want you to do is I want you to push." He said, because if you do, one day all the greatness, all the potential, all the purpose that's inside of you that God has placed there is going to be birthed out into the world. It was right around that time my dad told me that story that I met another father. He took me out to dinner and he sat me down and talked to me about his son, Nick. And as I was sitting there eating and listening to him describe Nick, I knew he had to be an amazing young man. He played the clarinet, the saxophone. He went and ran marathons. He studied abroad. He spoke Spanish and German and Mandarin Chinese. He said just 5 years ago, Nick actually walked across this very stage. He sat in these same seats that we're sitting in. He said just 5 years ago, my son was ranked third in his law school class. And I know if Nick was anything like me, that he probably made friends with some people that he never would have suspected. He probably went to shoot pool with people like Alex Chack, or went to go grab cheese fries with magicians like Joey Williams. Maybe he had some wiser, older classmates in his class who everybody looked up to, like Jeff. Maybe he had a Pete Brunson in his class that everybody could count on to answer the professor's question when no one else knew the answer. Maybe some wore jobs like Salama. Maybe there was some jokesters like Durley, some go-go dancers like Jordan. But maybe there were some go-go dancers like Jordan. But no doubt Nick came to the place where we all come to, where he had to push. And his father said he did push all the way until July 9th of 2016, like a leaf falling too soon from the tree of life. Nick died at the age of 27. And last year I received the scholarship in his honor, and with it a copy of the obituary, the online obituary, and I read through it, and I didn't see anything about Nick's GPA, which I'm sure was great. I didn't see anything about the salary that he made at the law firm he went to work for, which I know was significant. Didn't see anything about Facebook shares, Instagram likes. His father conveyed to me that the most important thing about his son was the love that he had for others and the love that he had for life. And I'm reminded of the fact that in the end it will not be our careers, but our character that counts. And I'm reminded of a quote by the great Dr. Maya Angelou. She said in the line of poetry of hers, "I go forth alone and stand as 10,000. I may come as one, but I stand as 10,000. And I didn't really know what she meant until today. We all stand as the people that are surrounding us right now. I may be the only African-American male to walk across this stage today, but I stand as 10,000 because when you see me, you also see Ollie and Sandra. You see Dexter and Christine, Dee and Jawan. You see Jimmy and Lydia. You see Dean Nance and Dean Miller. You see Wiley Branton and Silas Hunt. You see Nick. And so class of 2018, let us not forget that we didn't get here alone. That we might be the only ones standing in the long black robe and this funny hat, but today is also for the mothers who might have made us meals at Thanksgiving, for the fathers who put a little money in our pocket when we needed it. It's also for the friends who sent us text messages encouraging us along the way. It's for the spouses and fiancés who stood by our side. This moment is for all of them. We stand for all of them. And I know that it's tempting to ignore the call that we all have today. This moment in history is telling us that, what are we going to do? And we're called on to push. And I know that it's tempting to say that there are voices that would tell us that, look what you've achieved. Look what you've earned. Look at the degrees and recognition that you've attained today. But I believe that we are called on in this moment to say that we are going to push, that we're not going to be satisfied. Dr. King told us that we must not be satisfied, not as long as our women classmates are entering into a world where workplace harassment and earning less than their male colleagues is the norm. We can't be satisfied as long as our black brothers are incarcerated at a rate of more than quadruple their white counterparts. We can't be satisfied as long as our LGBT brothers and sisters are faced with incessant workplace discrimination. We can't be satisfied as long as immigrants come to our borders seeking refuge and aren't treated with compassion. We as students of the law, as all people, must never be satisfied as long as injustice exists. We have to push today. We have to push for truth. We have to push for justice. And it doesn't matter if we came here to study the laws of property or procedure, the laws of contracts or constitution, the law of labor. In the end, there's a higher law that all are qualified to practice, and I believe that if this world is to be a better place, it must be practiced. And that's the law of love. Thank you.
Well, I think that it goes without saying that the class picked a phenomenal speaker. Thank you, Kendrell, for those words. As I mentioned earlier, the U of A School of Law is known for producing exceptional leaders, and our 2018 commencement speaker is certainly among them. Teresa Fetty attended the University of Arkansas School of Law in the early 2000s after completing a Bachelor of Business Administration in Accountancy and a Master in Accountancy from the University of Arkansas Sam N. Walton College of Business. And while in law school, then Professor Atkinson dubbed her Typhoid Mary because of her persistence. She was the only student left in the study groups that she first started in her first year of law school. She participated in our legal clinic and credits it with making her a better lawyer. She often notes that as a U of A grad, she can go toe-to-toe with graduates from Ivy League law schools, even if they may have had better regalia than she did. After her 2003 graduation, Teresa went on to earn a Master's of Law in Taxation from the University of Missouri-Kansas City School of Law. Teresa was called to law school after starting a doctorate in physical therapy, and she never looked back. She founded Provident Trust Group in 2007 and Keystone Acquisition in 2014. She has created exponential growth in Provident's 10-year history, increasing its assets under custody from $300 million to more than $4.5 billion. She has developed a reputation for being strong and an effective leader, building relationships among fellow executives, and having a unique managerial and entrepreneurial style, using company culture to drive performance and success. These traits and others have been acknowledged through several awards and accolades given to both Teresa and her companies. The Las Vegas Review-Journal named her its 2012 Entrepreneur of the Year. Fortune magazine honored her among its 10 most influential women entrepreneurs in 2012. M&A Advisor named her as its 2010 list of top 40 under 40, and Vegas Inc. included her in its 2015 40 under 40. Teresa holds deep roots here at the University of Arkansas, and her alma mater also has recognized her success. She was given the University of Arkansas's Young Alumni Award for 2017, and our own Women Law Students Association recognized her during your 1L year with the Gail Pettis Ponce Award. As an entrepreneur with a law degree, Teresa has said that her legal education has given her critical skills to run a business and succeed, and to see things a little bit differently than some of her colleagues. Please help me welcome Teresa Fetty.
Well, guys, I'm not John Grisham. So I heard Dean Leeds called me up and said it was between me and John Grisham for the commencement speaker, and I said, well, I guess you guys couldn't get him, huh? So, but I appreciate being backup to John Grisham. He's pretty cool. So, as you can see, I was called Typhoid Mary during law school. I can't believe she told that story. Dean Atkinson at the time said that apparently I kind of gravitated toward the students that didn't do as well in school, even though I was a 4.0 student in school. I guess I always felt you're supposed to help those who needed help. Unfortunately, I wasn't very good at it because they failed out of law school. So he deemed me Typhoid Mary. That's how I ended up getting that distinction. But anyways, thank you, graduates, for such an incredible honor to be your final speech before you graduate. No pressure there, right? No pressure, but I appreciate that. So I thought about quite some time what my speech would be about today. And it wasn't out of fear. It kept me up late at night, and it wasn't out of fear that I was thinking about standing in front of all of you giving a speech. It was more about reflection, and I counted the numbers. It's been 14 years since I graduated from law school. Actually 15 if you count, I actually graduated December 2003, a little bit early. After 15 years, a lot of life has happened. You know, in that period of time, I passed the bar exam 3 times. I failed 2 bar exams also during those times. I got married, I got divorced. I built and sold 2 companies. I built 2 more that I'm planning to sell in the next 3 to 5 years, I guess, although my partner always says I'm on a rolling 3 to 5. During that time, too, I found time somewhere in there to pop out 2 babies, and I have 2 beautiful children. In that time period, too, I experienced tremendous loss when I lost my father a couple years back, who was my best friend and probably my biggest cheerleader. But one thing that he said to me that still holds true today, it's like, Teresa, what if we could experience life in joy per minute? Why do we measure life in years, but not in something like joy per minute? And it's one of those things that it hits you hard when you're starting out in school and you're going to college. And you know what? To be honest, I ignored him. I really didn't think it was that important of a thing that he said to me. But what I ended up finding out was over that next 14 years from graduating law school was that I exponentially started to experience less joy per minute, right? And when I started to look back at why I started to experience less joy per minute in my life than sitting in that chair and the bar reviews that you guys do, yeah, bar reviews, right? I remember what those were like. Where in the process did we have less fun, make less friends? How'd that happen after 14 years? And not to say that I haven't had a really good time along the way, but I think it's in that process where I feel like I spent the next 14 years trying to find myself, trying to define myself. And most of that came from other people and what they thought I should be like. To be honest, I wasn't law review. I graduated top of my class in the accounting program. I made a 3.2 in law school. So at that point in time, I barely passed the bar exam, actually. I think the passing score in Arkansas at the time was 85 or something. I think I made an 85.5, something like that. It took me, I kind of like made it my mission in life to just barely pass them, because this is how much I had to study in order to pass the exam, right? So I spent the rest of my life, and this is all an entrepreneur really is, guys. An entrepreneur is somebody who doesn't want to work. So we'll work 20 hours a day just to make sure that we never have to work another day in our lives. That's exactly what an entrepreneur is. So when I sold my company in January and my new boss, yep, I have a boss now because I'm a slave for the next 2 years as I sold my company. My new boss says to me, Teresa, you need to pump out this report. And I remember looking at her, and I didn't say it to her face, but I ended up like walking out of the office going like, me? You want me to do the report, not somebody else on the staff. So I'd spent my whole life basically figuring out a way for everybody else to do everything for me that I ended up, kind of not knowing how to do some things myself, right? So that's what an entrepreneur is. So if that's you, then we're all a little lazy. Let's just admit it, right? And that can end up leading to a lot of success and a lot of millions of dollars in your pocket, being the laziest person. However, there is something in there as well. As I told you, entrepreneurs work 20 hours a day. So there's a lot of hard work that comes in there as well. And the one lesson that I want to leave you, as I told you, over 14 years, I feel like I spent the rest of my life trying to figure out who I was. And if I had to think of one thing to leave you with as you graduate, it's in Entrepreneur 101 class, they teach you about setting core values for your company. And those core values are things that your business will live by. In short, it's a few things that drive every decision you make, every employee you hire, how you build your company, what you do with the rest of your life, right? These are business core values. But somewhere along the way, those core values that I wrote for my company 10 years ago, as I sold it, I realized that they ended up being my own personal core values, things that drove me, things that defined me. And if I had defined those at a much earlier age, as I sat in your chair perhaps, I think I would have, all those decisions, those really hard decisions in life, like when I graduated, and my co-speaker over here says, I haven't found a job yet. And I was like, well, neither did I. I interviewed, I think, with 20 law firms. I got turned down by 19, and the 20th law firm told me if I went and got my LLM in taxation, that I could have a job maybe. And by the way, it paid $48,000 a year. I graduated law school with $150,000 in student loan payments. So Obviously, sometimes you have to blaze your own path. And I wish I just would have known to define those core values for myself, because what I would have figured out was that my decision making would have gotten easier. So it didn't surprise me that the job that actually offered me a job after my LLM in taxation is not the one I took. There was a job in Kansas City that actually offered me $45,000 a year. I think it was less. It was less money, but it was 20%. I could have 20% commission, by the way. Or any lawyer think you're not a salesperson? 20% commission on any case that I brought in tax, by the way, right? So I took that job because I figured I could bank on myself and make more money. And by my second year, I pulled in $1 million book. You can do whatever you want to do. You can define whatever you want to define, but you need to know what drives you. And at that point in time, I didn't know what an entrepreneur was. All I knew is that I really wanted to be the boss, because I didn't want anybody else telling me what to do. That's all I really knew. I didn't know that that was called an entrepreneur. I thought that was just called a partner of a law firm, right? So my challenge to you as you enter the real world is to define yours, because graduates, if you can determine what your core values are now, those decisions become clearer. And as Roy Disney said, it's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are. So I wanted to share mine with you in the hopes that they'll inspire you to create your own. So our first core value of Provident was find the yes. And this is, guys, it's a world full of no's. It can be hard to hear the yes when all you hear is no. I just told you 25 stories where somebody told me I wasn't good enough. By the way, I was in the Black Law Student Association as well. Did you know that? Yes, I was, because they were a very inclusive and accepting group of people. And there were only 2 Asians in my class, me and one other guy, and I was half and he was half, and we made one. And we were both in the Black Law Student Association together, right? So there wasn't an Asian Student Law Association. We just ended up making our own, and the Black Law Student Association accepted us. They were inclusive. So after graduation, some of you guys will find yourself swimming in this thing called the real world. Some of you are already in it, right? But college is a place full of yes and promise. You have teachers who care about who you become. You have parents who still pay your bills. There's this thing called summer vacation. I don't know what that is anymore. You have things called part-time jobs. What's that? I don't even know what a part-time job is. Now I sold my company, and my husband actually says I have 3 full-time jobs now because I launched 2 new startups. I don't know what I was thinking. I probably should learn this thing called a part-time job. But we are surrounded by like-minded souls with the same stresses and the same thirst for knowledge. There's a lot of similarity here. And then you get birthed into the real world. And graduates, your first dose of the real world, what did they just say you had to study for? That thing called the bar exam? Yes. You had 3 years of study, and in 3 months, you're supposed to absorb all of that knowledge after the last 3 years, right? And over 2 to 3 days, you pass or fail. That's a reality for those of you sitting in those chairs. That was a reality that all I did for that summer after law school was study for the stinking bar exam. And at that time in my life, I thought that defined me. That if I failed, it would define me. It doesn't, because I passed 2 more and I failed 2 more, right? It didn't define me. And actually, I've never practiced in Arkansas, and I have an Arkansas bar license. I actually have a Missouri and Kansas bar license too, and I think I practiced there for only 2 years. So those types of things are the things that will birth you into the real world. Then there's this thing called a boss, and some of you, most of you, will have one at any one time, right? And this boss, some of you will have found a job, a thing called a job, and it'll be at 8 to 5. And some of you, this is your dream job. Everything you worked in law school to do, to have. It's your passion. It's what drives you in the morning. Others of you accepted whatever you were given, just like I was, because I was afraid I couldn't pay my bills, right? And others of you are still looking. You're going to pass that bar exam, and then you're going to continue looking for whatever it is that's going to give you passion in your life. And some of you will become a recovering attorney like me, right? This will be what perhaps leads you guys onto your next thing. And when you have a boss, one of the things that your bosses will do is they will tell you a lot of no. Some of you will have one boss, some of you will have 15 bosses. Those of you who like to skip around and love to find new challenges. And some of your bosses will be on this journey, this thing called life, this journey called life, and they will suck. And they will suck the life out of you, and they will suck the passion out of you. And my very first boss actually told me he was never wrong. Actually, I never proved him wrong the entire time I worked for him, but he sucked the passion and the life and the soul out of me because nothing I ever did was right. But all he did was launch me on to my next thing when he told me, you'll never be partner here. Even after $1 million book, you'll never be partner here. We'll only make you junior partner. I packed all my stuff up that day, and I moved to Las Vegas, and I opened up a law firm with my friends, which was a really crazy and silly idea at the time, but it all worked out. And those bosses, they'll test your purpose, they'll test your core values, they'll test your emotional stability. But I promise you that at the end of that, those testings will just make you a better person. And I hope that out of all those no's you'll hear, because you'll hear them for friends, mentors, parents, siblings, spouses, bosses, colleagues, but the biggest no you'll hear, I promise you, is from yourself. I hope you will listen to it. I hope you'll make it your mission in life, proving all those no-sayers wrong. And I hope you'll find that yes. Our second core value in Provident was to create a better way. I look at all the parents in the room, and I think about this because I had parents like this, that it was upon their backs that I stood tall, right? My mom worked 3 jobs, my dad worked 2 jobs. My parents made minimum wage. I took out loans to go to school. But what my parents taught me was always leave it better than you found it. And in order to create a better way in the world, you have to have humility. So why do I say that? Because you have to believe that everyone in this world has something to teach you. And graduates, if I can't impress anything on you, is believe that everybody you meet has something to teach you, good or bad. Because you can only make something better if you have something to start from, right? And you wouldn't have that if it wasn't for someone or something before you. Our third core value was to keep it simple. And Lord, that one was hard. We like to make life complicated. We're human, right? We like to complicate things. But when it comes down to it, our parents will even tell us this because they learned this lesson far earlier than we did. It's the simplest things in life that will give you joy, give you passion, give you purpose. It wasn't selling my company in January that gave me the greatest joy. It was sitting on the back porch with all my family yesterday, and my sister bought these things called thumb rockets, and there's 20 of us in the front yard thumb rocketing each other, my kids laughing, their kids laughing. It's those simple things, right? Those stinking rockets cost $30. But all the laughter and the joy and watching my mom just see everybody come together, it's those simple things. But we like to make things complicated. It's usually what leads us away from what your heart desires because we add feelings where there are none. Believe me, we all do it, right? We add steps when we should have stood still. And we love to fill the gaps in conversation because we can't stand the silence. I had a mentor once tell me, Teresa, you don't always need to fill the silence. And what that caused me to do was slow down for just a second and listen. Right? The fourth core value that we had was learn and adapt. This is one that, as students of learning, if you have 3 degrees like most of you in this room have, then you must have a value for learning and growing. I hope that you have a deep want to understand, connect, and explain, but I hope in this path of learning that you learn what to do with it. It doesn't matter what somebody tells you, what you read in a book, what you hear on a podcast, if you do nothing with it. You're graduating into a world of extreme disruption. Guys, when I was in school, we didn't have this thing. I just sat in a pitch the other day for the Uber for lawyers. They're building a new platform. It's called Uber for lawyers because it's the Uber of everything, right? AI, blockchain, crypto, you guys have money that has no value, yet we pay for it. Believe me, my second company dealt in cryptocurrency. I also took advantage of that value. But these are realities that we believe the world that you live in, artificial intelligence, you have no idea. I just watched a guy the other day who's invented these glasses that guys who go out and fix your air conditioning, it now tells them in their little glasses things how to fix the problem. It can diagnose it from the glasses. You are graduating into a world that is full of so much disruption, and you have to adapt to it because it's not going to adapt to you. And this profession right here is probably the one that needs the most disruption. And it'll be people like Dean Leeds who are leading venture capital and entrepreneurs and all these things coming together with the legal profession to also take advantage of that disruption. My last core value, and I R&D'd this, it's called rip off and duplicate. I stole it from somebody else. But it was attitude of gratitude. There's a quote from Cynthia Uccelli that I think about with this one, and I wanted to pass it on to you guys. For a seed to achieve its greatest expression, it must completely come undone. The shell cracks, its insides come out, and everything changes. To someone who doesn't understand growth, it would look like complete destruction. It's in coming undone and cracking that we become who we are. It changes us. It's supposed to. If you can only be grateful for the peaks if you know what a valley looks like. The valleys made me stronger, wiser, more humble, kinder. But to be honest, guys, I had to hit the bottom before I ever knew what the top would look like. And graduates, I know this sounds counterproductive, but I hope you see those valleys, and I hope you see them quick. Because only then will you be able to know and identify what success looks like, what true love looks like, what triumph looks like, and here's one that I'm always searching for and I haven't found it yet, what contentment looks like. It's only at the bottom that you can truly appreciate those things when they come to you. And in closing, I want to leave you with one piece of advice that I hope you learned earlier than I did. I'm sure my mentor shared this with me because of his own life experiences, because we all become wiser in the valleys. And he told me, no success at work is ever worth failure in the home. Out of all my lessons, this is the one that continues to remain true as I reflect on my valleys. I pass this one on to you because I hope it's a value you skip. I'm so truly excited for all of you today because there's one thing I can promise you. Today is a peak in your life, but it's not the last one, and it's not the best one. So graduates, congratulations, class of 2018. The best is yet to come.
Thank you, Teresa. At this time, we will award the Master of Laws in Agricultural and Food Law. For more than 3 decades, the University of Arkansas School of Law has offered an advanced law degree in agriculture and food law, which is the first of its kind in the United States. The degree is now available online as a supplement to our traditional classroom experience, making this the first law degree available by distance in our state. The LLM program has graduated more than 300 students, and alumni currently work in 40 different states and nearly 20 foreign countries, serving as leaders in private practice, government, agribusiness, public policy, and in the academy. It's my pleasure to welcome William H. Infield, Professor of Law and Director of the LLM Program in Agricultural and Food Law, Susan Schneider, to present and congratulate the candidates for the Masters of Law degree. Assisting are Professors Christopher Kelly and Uche Ewolakwa Afudal. They will hood the graduates as they come onto the stage. As the graduates cross the stage, they will be greeted by our members of the Board of Trustees, our Chancellor, and our Provost, and I will present the diplomas with the assistance of Associate Dean for Administration Tamla Lewis. Masters of Law candidates, would you please make your way to the stage while Professor Schneider makes a few remarks.
Thank you, Dean Leeds. It's my pleasure to serve as the director of the LLM program, attracting students from across the country and across the world to study with us here in Arkansas. In addition to our candidates that join us here in Fayetteville, we also have a number of distance candidates. But today we have 5 of our graduating students here with us. We're just trying to figure out which side of the stage they're. I think we're set. Mary Susan Burns. Susan joined us from Minneapolis, Minnesota with a wealth of practice experience. She runs her own law firm providing business law and business planning services with a focus on startups and entrepreneurs. She has her JD from Hamlin School of Law, where she served as the associate editor of the Hamlin Law Review, and she received her BA in German from the College of St. Benedict. Susan did extensive work this year on the legal issues involving lab-based meat products, working with the Good Food Institute. She'll be completing her final article this summer on the regulation of GMO crops and ingredients. Congratulations. Catherine Zerwis Graham. Kate also joined us from Minnesota this year, where she was a practicing attorney in Minneapolis, practicing estate planning. Before that, she clerked with the Honorable Judge Larry Stauber on the Minnesota Court of Appeals. She received her JD summa cum laude from William Mitchell College of Law, where she served as the executive editor of the William Mitchell Law Review. She has her BA in American Studies, magna cum laude, from Carleton College. Kate served as an adjunct professor this semester in the JD program, teaching an estate planning drafting course. This summer, she'll be completing her final article on the regulation of pesticide residues in food products. Daria Kotova. Daria joined us from Moscow, Russia. She's the recipient of the Russia-U.S. Legal Education Foundation Fellowship. Daria holds her LLB degree from the Faculty of Law of the National Research University of Higher School of Education and Economics. Throughout the year, she wove her interest in human rights with agricultural and food issues, serving as a research assistant for Professor Uwalukwa. Daria has already completed her final article involving human rights and food justice, titled Human Rights and Ethics, Combined for Sustainability. And Andrei Trapezan joined us from Ukraine. He has his master's in international economic law from the Kyiv National Economic University and his LLB with honors from the Economics and Law Institute at Cherkasy National University. He served as a sub-lieutenant in the Department of Military Training. Andrei has also completed his final article, A Legal Analysis on the Impact of Fertilizer Runoff on Drinking Water Contamination in the United States. Jose Ernesto Colon Villalon-Fonfe. Jose Ernesto joined us from Puerto Rico as the recipient of the University of Arkansas Graduate School Benjamin Lever Fellowship. He has his Master's of Business Administration from the University of Puerto Rico, where he served as a graduate teaching assistant. His JD is from the Pontifical Catholic University of Puerto Rico, and he has his Bachelor of Science degree from Purdue University in Indiana. Throughout the year, Jose Ernesto has worked with our alumni at the Law Group of Northwest Arkansas, practicing agricultural and food law every day. Congratulations to our LLM graduates, both here and afar. Thank you.
Now we move to the presentation and hooding of our Juris Doctor candidates. Associate Dean Will Foster was selected by the students to announce each candidate. Professors Howard Brill and Steve Clowney, who were elected by the graduating class for this honor, will perform the hooding. As with the LLN candidates, each student will be first hooded and then greeted by our Board of Trustees members, our Chancellor, and our Provost, and I will present the diplomas with the assistance of Associate Dean Tamla Lewis. Juris Doctor candidates, would you stand and make your way to the stage?
Abel Alberon. Brittany Lynn Albertson. Salima Almahani, cum laude. Brian Altman, summa cum laude, criminal law certificate. Ryan Osbrooks, magna cum laude. Deborah Renee Autry. Jeffrey Baker. Elizabeth Barnard. Caitlin Elizabeth Bennett. Blair Bennett, business law certificate. Christopher Brian Birch. Jessica Boykin. Luke Brazel. Pete Brunson, summa cum laude. Kristen Callahan, cum laude. Catherine Marie Carrio, cum laude. Rachel Marie Carney. Kristen Castro. Alexander Chack, cum laude, business law certificate. Durley Chapa. Kendrail Dion Collins. Samuel Cowherd, cum laude. Samuel Weston Cox. James Coyne. Asia Cruz, cum laude. Margaret Caroline Courier. Ian Downs, cum laude. Lindsay Rose Drake, cum laude. Russell Dye, magna cum laude. Haley Etheridge, cum laude. Leland McCullough Ferguson, magna cum laude. Michael Trevor Ferguson. Brittany Sidna Ford, cum laude. Brian Foster, cum laude. Jean Franco. Kelsey Furr, cum laude. Dustin Gaston. Hunter Bryce Glenn Green, magna cum laude. Jordan Renee Hairston, cum laude. Luke Mitchell Howler, magna cum laude, business law certificate. William Harris IV. Riley Harrison. Chelsea Harder. Eric Hawkins. Joseph Hawkins, cum laude. Walker Hawkins. Mark Heidel. Emily Helmick, cum laude. Peter Hilton, criminal law certificate. Zachary Hoffman. Ryan Hollis. Jennifer Leanna Hosp, cum laude. Andrew Hout. Catherine Johns, summa cum laude. Lacey Alyssa Johnson, magna cum laude. Elizabeth Ann Konopsik, criminal law certificate. Caitlin Kenner Kennedy, magna cum laude. Luke Kinder. Benjamin Knuckles. Andrew Lawson, summa cum laude. Connor Lee. Megan Page Leslie. John Rawson Lewis. Creighton Matthew Light, Jr. Megan Lombardi. Anthony Marcone, Business Law Certificate. David Matlock. Elizabeth McSpadden. Joseph Myers, cum laude. Hannah Elizabeth Murphy Foster. Zachary Musgraves, cum laude. Andrew Myers, magna cum laude. Jacob Tyler Newcomb, cum laude. Sun Nguyen, cum laude, Business Law Certificate. Ricky Nolan, cum laude. Jack O'Mara. Will O'Rourke. Jared Perry, cum laude. Jack Phillips, cum laude. Sarah Jane Phillips. Arnetta Janika Porter. Marcus Aaron Priest. Hayden Alexander Red, cum laude. Victor Ruben Rojas. Elizabeth Page Rystrom. Clay Sapp, summa cum laude. Eric Schneider. Zachary Sellers. Zachary Shackelford. Holly Shattuck, summa cum laude. Seth Shaw. Lucas Sheets, cum laude. Ryan Smith, magna cum laude. James Staten. Catherine Stidham. Forrest Stobaugh, magna cum laude. Russell Thomas. Zachary Trail. Philip Treat, magna cum laude. Taylor Savannah Tripp, magna cum laude. Business Law Certificate. Gentry Wallmeyer. Brett Waldron. Caroline Walls. Nicholas Weeks. Garrison Michael White. Joseph Vincent Williams. Justin Ray Williford. Shaw Wilson.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the class of 2018. On behalf of the Arkansas Alumni Association, I extend their congratulations as you join the ranks of more than 150,000 University of Arkansas alumni around the world. Your name will soon be engraved on Senior Walk, making you part of our unique tradition. Excluding the newly minted class, I would like at this time to ask all the alumni of this law school who are with us here today to please stand. I'd like to thank you all for being here and for your friendship and your support of the School of Law and the support of these new graduates. Graduates of the class of 2018, we've celebrated you. Now it's time to celebrate those who helped make today possible. There's no such thing as a self-made man or woman. Your success is possible because of your hard work, but also because of the sacrifices, support, and love, and most likely the money of the majority of the people in this room. I would like to ask our graduates at this time to stand and face the audience and give a round of applause to your supporters. As we conclude, I would like to recognize and thank the Claudia Burson Trio with special guest Danny Lopez for this lovely music this afternoon. My sincere thanks also goes out to our sign language interpreters, Shannon Buccino and Jason Shiflett, and to the Sign Language Interpreting Network. I would also like to thank all of the faculty, staff, and student volunteers that helped make this beautiful ceremony possible. And once again, I would like to give thanks to Kendrell Collins and Teresa Fetty for their absolutely fantastic remarks. Everyone is invited to attend a reception, and this will take place on the terrace. So I would ask you that immediately after our recessional, you do not stop in the lobby, but go on out to avoid congestion. And at that time, we can be together to enjoy everyone's company. Please remain seated while first the platform party and then the graduates exit the ceremony. Thank you for your attendance today, and congratulations to our graduates. Go Law Hogs!